Hello guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, for today's lesson we'll be looking at paper 2 of mathematics. It's an exam paper of November 2015. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very much important that you pay full attention. Remember guys, these lessons that I'm doing are suitable for grade 10s, 11 and 12s. And again, if you are upgrading your mathematics, you're also welcome to watch these lessons. Good people, if you know about our channel, please do make sure that you subscribe so that you're notified of my future uploads. Guys, I welcome you and I hope you will enjoy today's lesson. Okay, so guys, as you can see there, I've tried to draw by hand a diagram of which I just want us to explore that diagram without referring to the statement. Ladies and gentlemen, very much important. The question paper of this question is posted on my Telegram channel. So if you've got a Telegram account, you can just search for solving exam papers. That's where you'll be able to access this question paper. So guys, at all times I try to draw the axis, which is known as the Cartesian plane, by using a red marking pen. Reason to that is because I've actually noticed that it actually happens to myself when I was in lower grades, when I was trying to study the functions. I realized that I was getting confused from time to time by these axes. Okay, so for example, you've got a straight line equation or function as just a straight line, and it doesn't necessarily mean at all times it will be at an angle or drawn diagonally. It can also be a straight line as a vertical line or a horizontal line. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you notice where is your set of axes. Okay, so that means we've got what we call a Cartesian plane, which is what I drew there. Okay, so Cartesian plane has got the y-axis, which is a vertical line, and the x-axis, which is a horizontal line. Okay, and we call the point of intersection of the two axes as the origin. This is where you've got the 0 point. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you understand the Cartesian plane. Why? Because all the functions are drawn on this Cartesian plane. Okay, but in this case, remember guys, this chapter is for paper 2, which is analytical geometry. So ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a very interesting lesson where we'll be calculating the gradients, we'll be determining the equations of some line, and again calculating the angles. Obviously, as you can see there, we've got alpha, and again we might need to calculate some midpoints and lengths. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that you need for this lesson is just something to write, and again a calculator, and most importantly a glass of water. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before I start with the interpretation of that graph, please allow me to say it's very much important that I say it's very much important, ladies and gentlemen, because what I'm about to say is massively important. Okay, good people, a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. Okay, so make sure that by the end of each and every question you learn something new. Otherwise, by the end of this lesson, make sure that you've learned something new. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now I just want to quickly teach you how to analyze or interpret the given diagram without you having to refer to the given statement. Okay, so there is a statement given in relation to that diagram. Okay, but for now, let's try to explore that diagram without having to refer to the statement. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've already indicated that we've got what we call a Cartesian plane, which has the x-axis and the y-axis. So when you're in high school, you only focus on the x and the y-axis. When you get to tertiary, that's where they introduce the z-axis. Okay, so let's not worry about the z-axis for now and only concentrate on this. So this is 2D, and when you get to tertiary, it will be referred to as 3D. Okay, so guys, as you can see the diagram there, we've got a 3 known coordinates. Okay, what are those coordinates? It's A, it's C, and it's D. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you point those given coordinates. So A, that's where x it's -2 and y is 3. Okay, so we can just assume it to be somewhere, let's say there. Okay, so you can just make a point there. And again, C, that's where the x value is 10 and the y value is 11. Okay, so let's just assume it to be 10 there and to go 11 up, let's say somewhere there. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. D, that's where x is 5 and y it's -1. Okay, so you move 5 to the right and then you go down by just 1. Okay, so now what you can do is just to join this triangle. Okay, can you see, ladies and gentlemen, it actually forms a triangle. So it's just a matter of connecting these dots. Okay, it doesn't necessarily need to be 100%. I've tried to draw that diagram there using a ruler, so now I'm just doing it by hand, just to try and explain to you exactly how to interpret the given diagram. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is our A, this is our C, this is our D. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that means we've got the vertices of a triangle, which is triangle A, C, and D. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means you've got 3 segments, A to C, and again you've got C to D, and again you've got D to A. Okay, guys, I hope you fully understand that part. Okay, so can we further interpret this diagram, ladies and gentlemen? Guys, you've got a line which is AC, which cuts the y-axis at that point there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that point is now referred to as point F. Okay, so that's why they wrote that F there. Okay, so guys, F is that point where the segment or the line of AC cuts the y-axis at point F. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you understand this part. So now that means A, F, and C are collinear. Guys, what it's meant by collinear? So that means A, F, and C are along the same straight line. Okay, so you just need to know this information so that in future you remember that there's something called a linear, there's something called a collinear points. So collinear points are the points which fall along the same line. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So good people, that That means, or maybe as part of an additional information, let me just say the reason why you need to know about collinear points is because you might be given the coordinates of F, and C, where, for example, for F, let's say for F, they can maybe say, let's just assume that point to be 4, but in terms of X, they just say X, and then Y, it's 4. Ladies and gentlemen, as an example, not that is part of that question, okay? Very, very much important that you understand that part. So, for example, you've got the coordinates of A and C. So, because A, F, and C are collinear, so that means the gradient of AF is equals to the gradient of FC. Okay, so you can equate the gradient of AC, and again equate it to the gradient of FC, and you substitute the coordinates into that formula where you will be solving for the X value of F. Okay, I think I've done this question already in one of my live lessons, but this is just to serve as a reminder in case if you haven't watched that video. I would encourage you to watch that lesson. Very massive, very informative. That's where I go deep into details with regards to collinear lines. Okay, so that lesson is always posted in my live lessons. I think if you go under playlist free live online lessons, it should be there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's now continue with the business of the day. So guys, I've just explained that part where line AC cuts the y-axis. That point is referred to as point F. Okay, guys, and again, a line AC or line CA. Before I even continue, ladies and gentlemen, remember, in most of the times, I may say AC, whereas maybe your teacher, your mentor, your tutor or whoever may be referring to that line as CA. Guys, I just want to make it clear that it refers to one and the same thing, okay? But in most cases, I try by all means to start, with A or follow the alphabetic order, okay? So obviously, A comes before C, okay? So that's why I will say AC, okay? Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So in that way, I remain constant. So now, if I have to deal with A and D, then I'm going to say AD, okay? Because A comes first and then D comes second in terms of the order in which alphabets are written. So if I'm dealing with DC, I won't say DC, but instead I will say CD. Why? Because this comes first and this comes second. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. That's why even when you're given a simultaneous equation, they say solve for X and Y. It's because alphabetically, this comes second and this comes first. Okay, so it's best when you follow that order. In that way, in all of your calculations, you remain consistent, and it's easy for us as we mark in the marking center to actually understand exactly what you're calculating, and again to interpret your answers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. Let's now quickly finish off interpreting or analyzing that given diagram. Okay, so I was saying line AC, okay, it can be extended or it is extended to touch the x-axis at that point there. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, and that point it's called G. So that point is called G. Okay, guys, at all times, ladies and gentlemen, it's very much important that you are able to understand and interpret or analyze the given diagram, because the moment you create that relationship in terms of understanding the given diagram, even when they ask questions related to that diagram, you already know, you have a better understanding of what's going on in that diagram. So you will easily be able to understand the question in terms of exactly what they want you to calculate, and most importantly, you'll be able to strategize and plan how you're going to give your answer. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's in most cases where before you even start with the question, you already know how the answer should look like. In terms of the values, for example, if you know they want, let's say, the coordinates which falls in that first quadrant, then you already know that you should have your answers as positive and positive x and y values. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's then continue to interpret this given diagram. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. The straight line, which is a straight line DE. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you notice that we haven't got any curves there. Okay, we only have straight lines. So we've got that straight line. Okay, so remember guys, I'm just drawing this by hand. The line might not be straight. As you can see, I'm trying by all means to make them straight. So even though it doesn't look straight, but just know it's a straight line. Okay, so we've got straight line DE. Okay, so DE is drawn parallel to AC. Ladies and gentlemen, how do I know that a straight line DE is drawn parallel to straight line AC? Ladies and gentlemen, it's because you can see there are multiple ways in which they can represent that the lines are parallel to each other. In that case, they chose to use those two arrows there and there, which is a confirmation that this straight line and that straight line are parallel to each other. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean when you've got parallel lines? So this is a question that I'm posing to you. If you know the answer, you can quickly just post in the comment section, by letting us know what does it mean when you've got parallel straight lines. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't end there. Obviously, you can see I've covered almost everything there, but this is what we have to then talk about. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we've got an angle there. Let's just call it an angle called alpha. So that means angle alpha is formed between two lines. Ladies and gentlemen, what are those lines? Okay, so we've got angle at F, which is formed between F and origin, or F and O, and again between F and C. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let me just say it's an angle formed between FC and FO. Okay, and that angle is called alpha. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you understand this part. Okay, so most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, can I quickly talk a little bit about that angle? So notice something, guys. You've got the y-axis as a straight line, right? The y-axis as a straight line, and you've got that line FC. Let's say this is that F, this is that C. Okay, the angle that we are talking about, this is the angle that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so what I wanted you to notice is that this angle, it's actually greater than 90 degrees. ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that when it comes to angles, you notice if it's greater or less than 90 degrees. Okay, in that way, if a question comes where they want you to calculate the angle of a particular given two lines, you are able to visualize, and again you are able to notice that your angle is actually greater than 90 degrees. Okay, so obviously if we draw a horizontal line from that point, we notice this is 90 degrees. Okay, so that means this angle is greater than 90 degrees because we've just drawn a horizontal line there, so we already have a 90 degrees angle, and then we still have that angle there, okay, between that horizontal line and that line of CF. Okay, so that means angle theta, ladies and gentlemen, it should be 90 degrees plus let's just refer to that angle as maybe, let's say, beta. Okay, then plus angle beta. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you understand this type of information, because when you're required to calculate that angle, already you know your final answer, it should be greater than 90 degrees. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's try to firstly check what is the given statement. I'll just read it out. From there we'll start with answering the questions. So guys, I hope you remember the question that I asked you. I assume you've already commented with the answer to that question. So in short, ladies and gentlemen, what I expected you to say is that parallel lines have got the same gradients. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So guys, as I've indicated, this question is posted on my Telegram channel. I'll just quickly check one of my phones if I can find this question. So there you go. So guys, I'm not sure if you are able to see on the screen of my phone, but I assume you're not able to see, so it doesn't really matter that much if you're not able to see. But what matters the most is that you're able to hear what I'm saying. And again, as I've indicated, this question is posted on my Telegram channel, so you can easily access it there. Otherwise, if you don't have a Telegram channel, you can just refer to the information that I'm saying and write it down. Okay, so guys, the given statements read as follows. I'll just try to read it as slow as possible. I won't read it twice. I'll just read it once, and then from there we'll start with the questions. Okay, so guys, again, this helps you to be able to listen and understand, and if need be, write at the same time. Okay, so in the diagram below, remember, this is the diagram, which is that diagram that I drew there, which is the same diagram that I've explained. So in the diagram, A into brackets -2 semicolon 3 close, that means the coordinates of A it's -2 and 3, C it's 10 and 11, and D 5 and -1 are the vertices of triangle A, C, and D. Okay, so they're just talking about that part of the triangle. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. CA intersects the y-axis in F, and CA produced cuts the x-axis in G. Okay, so here they're talking about that point F, and again that G. Okay, so the straight line DE is drawn parallel to CA. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. They're talking about that straight line which is parallel to that straight line. Okay, and again we've got alpha, so they just say C angle FO is equals to alpha. which is that alpha. Okay, so now, good people, let's start with our very first question. Okay, so I hope you can't wait to start with our first question, ladies and gentlemen. So guys, the first question, which is 3.1, says calculate the gradient of the straight line AC. Okay, calculate the gradient of the line AC. So this question is allocated 2 marks. Guys, I've been mentioning this, that when you're given marks like 3, 2, 1, just know it's one of those easy and straightforward questions. Okay, so you just need to apply your understanding. And most importantly, guys, as I always say, it's not really about me showing you how to answer or solve this question, guys. It's all about trying to give you a good understanding, because one thing for sure, the exam that you're about to write, it won't be the same, or the question won't be 100% the same as that given diagram. But one thing for sure, they are testing for the common understanding. Okay, so if you've got a very good understanding of analytical geometry, regardless of how the question was asked, you will be able to tackle any question related to analytical geometry. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you listen to me very carefully and you try to process all the information that I provide. So guys, let's now start with our first question, which wants us to calculate the gradient of line AC. Ladies and gentlemen, on the diagram we know this is A, this is C, and we've got the coordinates of those points. Okay, so 3.1, assuming that I wasn't sure of anything, assuming that I didn't know how to answer this question. Ladies and gentlemen, if I don't know the approach, if I don't know how the final answer will look like, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you fully understand what the question wants you to calculate. Okay, so what exactly does the question want me to calculate? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, they want you to calculate the gradient. Okay, so what you do is to write down the formula for calculating the gradient. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. You just write down the formula for calculating the gradient. Okay, we know the gradient is equals to change in y over change in x. Okay, so guys, what does change mean? Okay, so change means y, because we are saying change in y. So that means it's y of the second values minus y of the second values over x, because now we talk of change in x of the second corresponding x value minus the first corresponding x value. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. So that means if this is your x2, it should go with the corresponding y2. This is the y1, should go with the corresponding x1. Okay, so guys, very, very much important. So now I notice, okay, they want me to calculate the gradient, and this is the formula for calculating the gradient. So that means I must have the values of x and y, which is the coordinates. So now they want the gradient between which points, ladies and gentlemen? Between A and C. Okay, so these are the coordinates of A, which is -2 and 3, and again the coordinates of C, it's 10 and 11. Okay, so very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, which points are you going to use as the y1 and the y2, x1 and x2. Okay, it doesn't really matter if you refer to this as the second values, or this as the second values. What matters the most is the correct substitution. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you understand this part. Okay, so let's now substitute. So that means m, which is the gradient of AC, it's going to be equals to, let's take this as x2, y2, this is x1, and this is y1. Okay, so now let's just substitute all of this into that formula. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think this is a difficult question. So obviously y2 is that one which is 11, then you can subtract y1 which is 3. Okay, so guys, in most cases I substitute in brackets when I've got a negative number. Okay, so doesn't necessarily mean that at all times you should do it that way. You can still decide to substitute the values regardless of them being positive or negative in brackets. Okay, so now what is our y2? This is our y2, which is 10 minus, what is our remember x2, ladies and gentlemen. This is our x2, and I've just noticed something, guys. Even though luckily in some instances I'm able to recover, so you might find that I'm saying something incorrectly, but one thing for sure, I'm going to write it correctly. Okay, so if you hear me saying something incorrectly, just check what I'm writing. So rely mostly on what I'm writing, but luckily in most cases I do recover from what I've incorrectly mentioned. For example, there I was referring to that as y2, but instead it's x2. Okay, so now let's move to x1. Okay, remember I've just indicated that I substitute those in brackets. Why? Because it's negative. Okay, so now ladies and gentlemen, what is 11 minus 3? It should be 8. Okay, so that means you've got 8 there. Okay, so now what is this times that? It becomes a positive, so it's more like a 10 positive 2, which is equals to 12. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, can we write this thing in its simplest form, which means we need to find a common factor? So I think 2 goes how many times? Is it 2? I think not necessarily 2, but 4. 4 is also the highest common factor, because 2, it will give us, for example, 4 and 6, I think. So we'll still need another common factor that goes into those 2, which is still 2. Then it makes it, it goes 2 times and 3 times. So that means 2 goes 2 times into 4, and it goes 3 times into 6. Okay, so that means your final answer in the simplest form is 2 over 3. Okay, so that means the gradient of line A to C, it's equals to 2 over 3. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now can we try answer, mark this question? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I've just indicated that this question, it's allocated 2 marks. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go through all of these steps and again spend this much time that I've spent on this question. Remember, I'm trying to show all the steps so that I accommodate the grade 10s, grade 11s, and most importantly grade 12s, not forgetting those who are upgrading this subject. So I'm trying by all means to accommodate everyone in all of my lessons. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, unlike in physical sciences, you're not given a mark for writing the correct formula, but instead in mathematics they give you a mark for correct substitution. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your final mark will obviously come from your final answer, which is correct in its simplest form. Okay, So guys, very much important that you understand what I've done there. It was an interesting and easy question. So now let's move to the next question. I assume you've learned something new out of this question, but I assume only the grade 10s might have learned something new. So if you're in grade 11 and grade 12, you know, I assume you already know most of the information. So ladies and gentlemen, can I just write there to say that line, let me just say m of what is it, m of let me just say G, A, F, and C. Okay, G, A, F,